The sun comes up on America. Across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, good to see you on another beautiful morning. Glad to have you on board. Fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom. Listen, this is the relentless pursuit of truth. No matter where it leads, we're going to find it. To the best of our ability every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the man accused of starting the devastating Palisades fire in California was a radicalized leftist that hates billionaires, according to prosecutors. His arson, by the way, killed 12 people, destroyed thousands of homes. Number two, big news north of the border. Alberta separatists have turned in the signatures to force a vote on leaving Canada. It's almost certain to happen a little bit later this year. Take that, Marxist carney. And number three, Democrats invented the game of rigging the maps to manufacture power through the years of systematic gerrymandering. And now that Republicans are finally playing it to win, the left is melting down like snowflakes in a Texas summer heat wave. For literally decades, they've packed and cracked districts in their blue strongholds while lecturing us about democracy. I say enough. Enough. Republicans control the levers in key states, and we need to maximize every legal advantage. Fair is fair, or in this case, fight fire with fire. Democrats have been flip-flopping on the issue for years. Look no further than the golden child, Barack Obama. Here he is.
I think we've got to end the practice of drawing our congressional districts so that politicians can pick their voters and not the other way around. Let a bipartisan group do it.
By voting yes, you can push back against the Republicans trying to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms. And we're counting on you.
Yeah, so 1 minute he's Mr. Reform. Not long after that, he's shilling for a Democrat power grab that could flip the state of Virginia from a competitive 6-5 to a lopsided 10-1 rout. Classic Obama. Rules for thee, but not for me. But so far, that whole Virginia thing is backfiring. The very liberal Supreme Court has even thus far refused to certify the election that's now more than 2 weeks old. And if they can't win the gerrymander fight, it's clear they're willing to use the census scam. Democrat Congresswoman Yvette Clarke of New York said the quiet part quite clearly for all to hear. Here she is.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
So she's talking about importing illegal aliens so they can be counted, padding blue districts with non-citizens to steal more House seats and Electoral College power from real Americans. This is election rigging by demographic replacement, plain and simple. It's what it is. The map wars are heating up right now. In Florida, of course, Governor Ron DeSantis just signed a new congressional map that could net Republicans 4 additional seats, targeting Democrat strongholds in Tampa, Orlando, and the Southeast. And when Hakeem Jeffries threatened to target Florida, DeSantis might drop that tough guy with a classic comeback. Remember this?
You know, we got this guy, Hakeem Jeffries. Have you guys heard of him? I don't know that he'd do very well in Chipley if he ran for office, but he's threatening Florida. Oh, you do the redistrict. We're going to come down. We're going to get you guys, all this stuff. Go ahead. Make my day. Bring it on. I would like nothing better than to have him campaigning all across Florida. I don't know that he would do well here. I don't know he would do well almost anywhere in Florida, and I don't think that's something that Floridians would want to see. But we are not going to be cowed by threats from some machine politician from Brooklyn. It doesn't work that way down here. That's not how we roll.
It's not how we roll. Now that's leadership. And political payback, not whining. Louisiana responding to the Supreme Court's Kelly decision, striking down race-based gerrymandering. Governor Jeff Landry is postponing primaries to redraw maps, potentially flipping another seat Republican or maybe even two by ending the racial carve-outs. Alabama is calling special sessions. Tennessee is eyeing its lone Democrat seat in Memphis. And Texas already passed mid-decade adjustments under Governor Abbott that could add 5 seats to the Republicans. Chip Roy put it perfectly. Texas is just adjusting itself with its redistricting as a response to the games Democrats have been playing. Listen to Chip.
Now, obviously, gerrymandering has existed since the very beginning of time, looking at its very name. It goes back to our founding. And so the maps are always going to be a little bit crazy because there's political powers. But for my Democrat colleagues that are squealing about Texas going to roughly a 30-8 mix or 28-10 mix, look at California. Out of all of its districts, I think there are currently, about 8 or 9 Republicans, and it's going down to 4 or 5. Look at all of New England. Literally all of New England. There's not a single Republican district. So the fact is that Texas is just, adjusting itself to play the game Democrats have been playing. And it's all political, right? That's political gerrymandering. We can debate that, but it shouldn't be done by race. The Supreme Court got it right. And frankly, Clarence Thomas was the most right, as usual, when he said that, it's Section 2, it shouldn't have anything to do with redistricting at all. So the Supreme Court got it right. Texas will get its maps right now.
Yeah. And more states need to play the same hardball game. It's time Republicans played as hard and rough as those on the other side of the aisle. Fight like Democrats. In Virginia, like I said, Democrats ran through a constitutional amendment for a map that could hand them up to 4 extra seats, maybe 5. When reporters asked AOC about Republican complaints, this was her response.
Around ethical campaign.
What do you make of Republicans saying that Virginia, you guys getting Democrats getting 10 for one is totally unconstitutional and wrong?
Democrats have attempted and asked Republicans for 10 years to ban partisan gerrymandering. And for 10 years, Republicans have said no. Republicans have fought for partisan gerrymanders across the United States of America, and these are the rules that they have set.
Yeah. I hope she keeps that same wah, wah, wah attitude about Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, and a host of others, and, of course, Virginia, because I don't think it's going to happen. And I guess she's just going to forget about all the blue strongholds where Democrats have perfected the art of stealing elections literally for decades. Illinois, a Democrat gerrymander masterpiece. They hold 14 of the 17 seats, despite Republicans winning 43% of the vote in 2024, along with President Trump. 43%. Republican representation gets crushed there in maps that look like earmuffs and snakes. Massachusetts, 9 districts, all Democrat. Trump got over a third of the vote there, almost 40% statewide, but 0 Republican members of Congress. These aren't reflections of the people. They're fortified bunkers designed to entrench one-party rule. New York, California, Maryland, same story. Democrats packed conservatives into as few districts as possible while spreading their urban votes efficiently into their districts to create that bunker. They thought they could get to one-party rule, and then Republicans said, wait a second. We can do that. That's right, you can. Now wake up and get it done. We've got more coming up after the break. All right. Like I said, Democrats pack conservatives into as few districts as possible by spreading their urban votes efficiently. And this is how they spin it. This is Eric Holder, former Attorney General of the United States, who describes Republican redistricting as stealing seats. But Democrat moves in Virginia are about making the system as fair as it can be. How disingenuous can you possibly be? Listen.
Historically, the president's party doesn't usually do well in the midterm races. So why do Democrats need to do this? I mean, it sounds like it's acknowledging that the Democratic Party can't win on its own, that it has to go through these measures.
The Democrats can certainly win if it's a fair fight. And the question I have...
It wasn't going to be a fair fight in Virginia?
No, it wasn't going to be a fair fight nationally if you try to steal seats in Texas, in North Carolina, and in Missouri. And so the question I have for people who are critical of that, which we're doing, is what were we supposed to do? Nothing? Just allow them to try to stack the deck, to try to steal seats? And all we're trying to do is meet them and try to make the system as fair as it possibly can be. And that's all that this is about.
Dishonest hypocrisy on steroids. And I'm here to tell you the Republicans play this same game if they do. They're on the winning side long-term and for a long time. Democrats, you see, have maxed out their gerrymandering in states they control because they've been practicing this for decades. So their room to grow is very little. But Republicans, massive upside in red states where they've been playing far too nice, far too long. Studies and simulations, including ones based on aggressive maximization by the party in power in each state, show that if every state went all in, listen to this, Republicans could claim roughly 240 to as many as 262 seats out of the 435 in the House, leaving the Democrats at about 175. That's a structural edge reflecting where Americans actually live and vote outside the coastal bubbles. Democrats are playing their hardest, and Democratic Representative Terry Sewell said this about fighting back.
What this decision says is that it values partisan politics over discrimination. It's really, 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 it takes us back. And so to the extent that it's inviting red states to totally take away all the Democratic seats and be totally red, it also encourages blue states to do exactly the same. So I can't speak for my chairwoman, but I take 52 seats from California. I sure would. And 17 seats from Illinois. Because at the end of the day, they're rigging this election to try to win. And we just can't sit back here and do nothing. We're going to play their game, and we're going to beat them at it.
The problem is they've already gerrymandered those maps to oblivion, as we've talked about. So we still have a big advantage if we do our part. This is the left's tolerance, by the way, vile racism from the pulpit when a black conservative justice stands for colorblind law. Folks, the Supreme Court's Calais decision was a game changer, weakening race-based map mandates and opening the door for states to draw lines based on traditional principles. On partisan ones, where legal. Republicans aren't stealing anything. They're correcting the imbalance that Democrats created. Blue states like Illinois and Massachusetts prove the left's maps are weapons. Red states finally fighting back isn't extremism, it is political justice. Look at the scoreboard. Florida +4 for Republicans, potentially. Texas banking 5, potentially. Then Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee moving that way, and Missouri. Virginia and California are Democrat counters, but the map favors the Republicans nationally because of the strongholds for the red. They're growing with population shifts to Sun Belt states. Democrats rely on importing dependents and rigging counts. Republicans rely on actual citizens moving to opportunity zones like Tennessee, Texas, Florida. Oh, and keep this in mind. The map in California may get tossed out, and court challenges are now looming in Illinois and Massachusetts following that Supreme Court decision. The message to every Republican governor and legislature, play the game. The Democrats showed you how. Now do it. Get off the couch. Draw fair maps under the law. Do it legally. That maximize your advantage, just like they did. No unilateral disarmament. The American people deserve representation that matches their values. Strong borders, low taxes, safe streets, energy dominance. Gerrymandering didn't start with Republicans, but ending Democrat permanent majorities might be the cure we need and need right now. This is not about suppressing votes. It's about stopping suppression of the majority will of the American people. Mid-decade moves are legal in these states. Use them. The left screams threat to democracy only when they lose the map advantage they built for years by gerrymandering. Well, too bad. The people are waking up. America First means fighting for every seat. Redistrict aggressively where you can. Defend those legal moves in court because that is the only place Democrats have left to fight. And it's an uphill battle following the Supreme Court's smackdown on racist districts. Expose the hypocrisy, Obama flip-flops, Clark's census scheme, Holder's double standard, AOC's tears, Sewell's wipeout fantasies. Republicans have room to grow because, well, they haven't been cheating at full throttle. Now, if they match the energy of the Democrats and the House stays red for a generation, maybe forever, talk about America first. That's the play. No more Mr. Nice Guy on maps. Win the game. The Democrats started and win big. All right? And I've got a little update for you here in a moment, too, about you've been told that MAGA is dead. Well, yesterday's elections proved that to be a fantasy, too. Meanwhile, many of you have struggled to lose weight. You lose it, and then you gain it back. What if I told you it's not your fault? It's not points or shakes or living at the gym. Because if it was willpower, you'd have already done that. You'd be done. What if I told you this? Your metabolism isn't broken. It's just not working right. It's turned off. You want to find out more? You want to do what I did? Go to GruberHealth.com. Book a free consultation. See if it's a good fit. It's an all-natural plan. Eat real food. No exercise needed. Turn your metabolism on naturally. Learn the strategies to keep it off. My Pure Health is the name of the company. GruberHealth.com is the place to find it. Get a special. Get a free evaluation today. You'll be glad. You won't be afraid of the mirror anymore. You're going to feel better. Man, I've heard so many success stories from you guys. This is the place, GruberHealth.com. Oh, and MAGA being dead, hold on to your seat. I got something to tell you about what happened yesterday. I'll be right back. All right, so you've been told over and over again, MAGA is dead. Donald Trump has no power. Well, in the state of Indiana yesterday, there were 7 senators for the state that voted against redistricting in Hoosier land. 6 of them appear to have lost. 4 for sure. 2 looks like they're losing. Only 1 held on to their seat, and that was because there were 2 challengers in that race with the same last name of Wilson. Donald Trump came in and said, you don't want to redistrict, we're going to throw you out of office. And throw them out of office, MAGA did. Congratulations, Indiana. It's called resetting the table, representing the people properly for what they want. Indiana wanted a redistricting. These senators said no, and the voters said no to them. So when they tell you that MAGA is dead, well, you might just want to tell them, hey, really? Did you see what happened in Indiana? A couple of other races recently show Republicans outperforming Donald Trump. See, the Democrats talked about a couple special elections here a few months ago. But there's only one thing less popular than Donald Trump today. That's Democrats of any stripe. I mean, they attacked John Fetterman for being a moderate. It is truly jaw-dropping, isn't it? The way they attacked John Fetterman. I think Fetterman would be better served if he at least became an independent. Did you know that about 70% of your immune system lives in your gut? Many people have an imbalance without realizing it. Some products may help prevent and manage some disease, support intestinal health, boost immune function, and aid in cancer prevention. Longevity. This product is great, folks. It contains a whopping 2 billion CFUs of probiotics per serving. Longevity is a complete nutritional support shake that gives you everything you need to age well. We use it at this house every day. Ivy uses it. My kids use it. I use it. Anthony uses it. And he's a stud. LongevityWellness.co. Enter the promo code Gruber at checkout for a special right now. LongevityWellness.co. If you become a subscriber, you'll save even more. There's a QR code right there on your screen. Check it out. 8 years old, 80 years old, doesn't matter. This has something for everybody, and it's all natural. Not made in a laboratory, grown in a field. LongevityWellness.co. You're going to be glad you did this. I keep getting your emails. I appreciate it. Love this product. I'll be right back. All right, let's talk about the beagles, shall we? As you may know, the Ag Bill eliminated some animal testing. No case bigger than one out of Wisconsin where beagles have been bred for 60 years for scientific research. The operation being shut down completely now. They had 2,000 beagles. They've bred beagles for 60 years, like I said. 1,500 of those animals now on their way to be adopted in other places. Justin Goodman is the Senior Vice President of the White Coat Waste Project. Joining me now. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Great to be here.
You guys were involved in these discussions. Now, this case in Wisconsin got a lot of attention. They had been actually found to be guilty, I suppose, of performing surgeries on the eyes of these beagles that did not meet state specifications. So they're on their way to being shut down permanently. The animals being sent out, at least 1,500 of them. I don't know what happens to the other 500, but pretty good day for your team, right?
Yeah, we've been following the money to Ridgeland Farms for years. They're actually one of Fauci's lab suppliers. White Coat Waste exposed how laboratories that Fauci approved funding for, they're actually still active, unfortunately. We're still trying to defund them. We're purchasing hundreds of beagles from Ridgeland Farms in Wisconsin and then locking them in a laboratory, shaving their fur off, covering them with mutant ticks to infect them with viruses, and then completely withholding pain relief. And unfortunately, this project has been renewed and extended. We're working with people like Paul Gosar, Congressman Nick Langworthy, Nancy Mace to shut it down. Rand Paul's been a leader on it as well. But the NIH was not the only funder of testing on Ridgeland beagles. In addition to National Institutes of Health funding experiments on these beagles from this disgusting puppy mill, the U.S. Department of Agriculture was one of the other federal agencies that was using our tax dollars to torture beagles from this place. And we were fortunate to have a big bipartisan win in the Farm Bill a couple weeks ago that cuts USDA funding for painful experimentation on beagles, any dogs actually, and cats. So that was a huge win. You know, the Farm Bill is always controversial, full of pork, but there was some big bipartisan wins that we can celebrate for animals, for taxpayers, and certainly cutting funding for experiments on beagles and making sure our tax dollars aren't being sent to this place, Ridgeland Farms in Wisconsin, is a win for everyone.
Yeah. You say they're Fauci farms. You know, I want to mention something here. You said these beagles were covered in ticks, mutant ticks, I think you said. Well, there's an interesting correlation there because Anthony Fauci and some of these folks are coming out with a vaccine for Lyme disease. How convenient that they're studying ticks on these farms when they've come out with a vaccine for Lyme disease. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but do tell me, Justin, is there a correlation?
Well, listen, if you look at the history of Lyme disease back in the 50s and 60s, the U.S. government out at a laboratory in Montana was weaponizing Lyme. They had this virus, they put it into ticks to spread it as a bioweapon. And there's belief in the scientific community and defense community that this is how Lyme disease became a problem that's prevalent in the United States, is a bioweapon gone wrong. And what does that sound like? That also sounds like the Wuhan lab, another Fauci, disaster that we exposed back in early 2020, and we're starting to see some accountability for, which also brings up another issue that we worked on in the Farm Bill. A couple of years ago, we exposed how the Biden USDA, after we exposed what happened in Wuhan, after Fauci left the government, the Biden USDA gave $1 million to a project, a collaboration between the U.S. government and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, which is the Wuhan Lab's parent organization. So this is after the COVID pandemic, after everything we know about what happened in Wuhan with gain of function funded by U.S. tax dollars. The USDA went ahead and funded a new gain of function project with the Chinese government, with experimenters tied to the Wuhan laboratory to do gain of function research with bird flu viruses. And fortunately, at the beginning of last year, after the Trump administration took office, Secretary Brooke Rollins at the U.S. Department of Agriculture took swift and decisive action to cut that $1 million contract that we exposed. And now in the Farm Bill that was passed a couple of weeks ago in the House, we defunded all USDA spending for animal research labs in China, Russia, and other adversarial agencies, because we've seen that funding these unaccountable animal labs in foreign countries is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Let's talk about animal testing in general. You know, you go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, this is what was done. Dogs, cats, mice, rats, whatever. Is there room for animal testing, in your opinion, in science today, if it involves mice or rabbits and not dogs and cats? Is there still a need for this? Obviously, science continues to advance. AI, obviously, a big tool in reducing the need for some of these animal tests. But where does that leave us?
Animal testing is bad science, but big business. The federal government alone is spending $20 billion a year on animal testing at colleges, universities, pharmaceutical companies across the world, actually. That's why it continues, because there's incentive for it to continue because people are getting rich off of doing it. It pays horrible dividends, terrible return on investment for taxpayers. Our perspective on this is let the private sector fund it. If they want to develop drugs and vaccines and do whatever else they want to do in laboratories, we know using animals for these experiments is incredibly slow, ineffective, and wasteful. Let private sector fund it. Let Bill Gates pay for it. Let Big Pharma pay for it. But don't force taxpayers to pay for something they don't like, they don't want, and they don't need.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Justin. Where if somebody's watching right now or listening, and they say, look, I want to adopt one of these beagles. Are they all spoken for? Are they going places where there's adoption available? I'm gonna guess that phone's going to ring because of the people watching right now. Where can somebody pick up one of these beagles? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so I think you probably just have to Google where they're going. I honestly don't know because they're going across the country to rescues all over. You can imagine placing 1,500 different beagles is a huge operation. So they're going to small humane societies all across the country, big rescues, Big Dog Ranch down in Florida. So if you Google Ridgeland Beagle adoption, I'm sure you can find a way to put your name on a list. There's also an amazing organization out in Wyoming called the Kindness Ranch Animal Sanctuary that specializes in placing beagles. So I highly recommend people check them out as well.
All right, the Kindness Ranch, it is called Ridgeland Farms, or it will be until it's shut down completely here in a few more weeks, and then it's out of business forever. I'm guessing they made their money over 60 years. I'm going to guess that. Justin, thank you for being here. It's an important story, and a lot of people applaud your work. Thank you.
Steve, appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Now, that brings me to something else I've been seeing on social media. I need to ask you because I keep seeing these posts about ticks in boxes being found on farmers' land. They're walking through and they find this cardboard box. I saw one yesterday. It's just oozing with ticks. They're like, where did this come from? What is this? And I say this because I need your input. Have you seen such a thing? Is it just some sort of a hoax? Is it the real deal? I've been meaning to ask you, and you're my eyes and ears out there across this great country of ours. So tell me, folks, and then email me, stevegruber.com. Send me an email. Boxes of ticks being found on farms and ranches across this country, and I've seen video. Don't know what to make of it. I don't have any such thing found on my properties, right? But tell me, folks, are they out there? Because, again, I tie this back to, they're coming out with a vaccine for Lyme disease. What a convenient time to have a few billion ticks enter the country, right? Let me know what you find. I trust you. You are my eyes and ears out there, America. Thank you. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, back to it now. You've heard this study. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but this is fascinating to me. It is. The drug that became famous and was lied about more than any drug, I think, in my lifetime, ivermectin, has come into the conversation about cancer because of some remarkable research. Ivermectin, which fights parasites, as you know, and was effective against COVID for me personally, and a whole lot of other people, has now been found to be effective against fighting cancer. A lot of it. Peter Gillooly is the CEO of the Wellness Company. Peter, good morning.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, we've been talking over the last few weeks about the role that antiparasitics play in fighting cancer, and this is a big deal. And is it true that the CIA sat on evidence for this for decades? They knew this, I've read, as far back as the 1950s. Could that possibly be true?
Sadly, it is true, Steve, and this came to light after we published our study recently. In the 1950s, the Soviet Union had scientists that studied the link between parasites and tumor activity and discovered that indeed there appears to be some efficacy with using antiparasitic agents like ivermectin and mebendazole to fight cancer. The CIA had classified that study until 2011, and that never saw the light of day.
Look, there's a lot of reasons not to trust the government. I could list off 100 right here pretty quick, but why in the world would you keep a potential low-cost cancer treatment in the dark? Why would you keep that secret?
We can only speculate, Steve, but we can start by kind of wondering, was the CIA worried that, the Soviet Union would be seen as scientific superiors? Were they beholden to the interests of the big pharmaceutical companies of the United States in the 1950s? I don't think we'll ever know, Steve, but the fact of the matter is that many lives probably could have been saved if we had taken that study seriously or furthered that research.
Yeah, the problem is, I think the operative word in the sentence that I use is it's a cheap way to attack cancer potentially. It's not expensive. It's not fancy. It doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars a month or a year. So maybe that's it. Let me ask you this. With Bobby Kennedy's leadership at Health and Human Services, Make America Healthy Again, what do you think we should do next? Should I think we should continue this research. This is really important stuff. We're cracking open potentially a cure for untold millions of people that are alive now and into the future, right?
I really hope so, Steve. We sent the manuscript to HHS. We implored them to set aside money to do the truly large-scale randomly controlled trials that is needed to validate this science and further the cutting-edge innovation that I think we're onto here. No reply yet. I'm really hoping that they take this seriously. One person and group that is interested in doing more, though, is Joe Lombardo of Florida, the Florida Surgeon General. Florida has a grant, Steve, I don't know if you knew this, of $60 million a year to help further innovative alternative cancer research. So hoping that they take up the mantle here and help fund some large-scale studies that really need to be done here to save lives.
Well, it sounds like you have a couple of options, and you got to keep pushing, so we appreciate your efforts there. Speaking of politics, in this administration, President Trump recently announced that he was going to shelve the nomination of Casey Means to be Surgeon General. I'm sure you saw that. Now nominating Nicole Saphier. Pretty popular with some people out here in the world. Can you tell me what that means and what happened?
Oh, we'll never know what happens behind the scenes, Steve, but it did not appear that Casey Means had the necessary support to make it through the committees in order to become Surgeon General. So, people don't know Dr. Casey Means. So, she would have been the youngest Surgeon General in history. She had graduated from medical school, but had not actually completed her residency, which means she did not complete her minimum required training to actually become a practicing physician. She never practiced. And I think ultimately that is probably what sunk her. So Nicole Saphier is now the nominee. Nicole graduated from a medical school in the Bahamas. Nicole is a cancer radiologist, very well spoken, commonly appeared on Fox News. I'm really hoping that she can bring a voice to the office and really be the Surgeon General that we need that can help direct medical policy here going forward.
So clearly you think this is a better choice. I get that. The real question in this atmosphere politically is, can she get confirmed? What do you think?
Well, we saw that Casey, could not get confirmed over a year. I think there's a narrow path, but yes, she can get confirmed. She'll need, of course, to carry all of the Republican votes in the nomination process, but I do think she'll be confirmed.
All right, let's go full circle on this. I want to come back to the ivermectin before I leave the folks here this morning. The wellness company has American-made ivermectin, and that's key. It's made here. It's not getting imported from China or somewhere else. You have a pretty good deal on it. Can you tell the folks what's available?
Yeah, we carry ivermectin of higher strength than you could find ordinarily. Something like ivermectin is weight-based dosing. So oftentimes people that are trying to take ivermectin and will, buy it from an overseas source will end up taking, a handful of pills to get an effective dose. So we offer pure compounded ivermectin in 18 milligram capsules and tablets, and our ivermectin mebendazole comes in strengths of 25 milligrams of ivermectin and 250 of mebendazole, which is the same combination that was studied in our paper that researched the effects of ivermectin mebendazole on cancer.
Well, there you go. Peter Gillooly. A lot going on every week. Always appreciate hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. If you'd like a chance to get some of that American-made ivermectin and mebendazole, very simple thing to do. Go to twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. I find these studies fascinating. As a cancer survivor, I find it fascinating. Now, my time goes back a long time. It wasn't really considered for anything but anti-parasitic usages back then, but today you've got options, and these studies really are mind-blowing. twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. The promo code will save you 10%. That promo code is Gruber, of course. I'll take a break and be right back. Nice seeing you today. right, so like I said, big news north of the border. I started the show with this, and this really is big news, and I want to make sure you hear it. In Alberta, the province that Canada milks all its money from, that Ottawa just screws because they've got natural resources, they've got the oil, they've got the industrial diamond mines, they've got all those great resources, including farmland and timber and a whole much more. Well, Stay Free Alberta has formally submitted 302,000 signatures. They needed 178,000 to get a referendum onto the ballot to secede from Canada, which, by the way, is legal in Canada. Alberta's got the signatures. Now they're going to have a vote.
So would they become their own country?
I don't know. They could, or they could join us. Wouldn't that be something? I'll take the 2 senators from Alberta. I'll take the members of Congress from Alberta. I'll take those congressional seats. Or they could be a landlocked country of their own. But it's legal in Canada. But I will tell you this, Anthony. Good question. If they split, Quebec will be right behind them, which means Canada really will be no more. It'll break up. You might end up with, I would say, the prairie provinces, which are Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Those could be a block because they've got natural resources, like I said, farmland and timber and water and fish and oil and diamonds. Then you've got British Columbia in the west on the ocean. They could become their own deal. Those in the middle, which would be Ontario and so forth, they could be their own deal, maybe still connecting to the maritime provinces of Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia and so forth. And then Quebec could be their own French thing. Nobody in Canada likes them anyway, so honestly. So you could end up with 3 or 4 different rump countries, if you will, but Canada would have been exploded under the leadership of Mark Carney, if you call that leadership. Well done, Mark. Way to screw the people to the point that they say, we don't want to be here anymore. Yeah, so that's a really big deal. We'll see. They say that the elections could happen as early as October. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said she would move forward. If the names were gathered, she said she'd put it on the ballot. You get the signatures, it goes on the ballot. Well, they've got the signatures, I guess. It goes on the ballot as early as October. We'll keep an eye on it for you here. It is a very big deal. All right, the next hour on the way, which will include, of course, your favorite. Ivy will be here with me, as she always is, coming up.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
The relentless pursuit of truth. That's what we're doing here every day, just trying to tell you the truth. There's a lot to sort out any given day. Fighting for you right here in this foxhole of freedom. Three big things this hour. Number one, California farmers destroying 420,000 peach trees. Well, where's the Green New Deal crowd? What happened to protecting the American food supply? Seems Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins might want to take a look. 420,000 peach trees gone. Number two, the DOJ taking aim at Denver's ban on semi-automatic rifles, calling it for what it is, illegal and unconstitutional. Another blue administration tries to steal your guns. And number three, we've got to talk about this, friends. Data centers. The lightning rod for millions of people. One that is planned for a small town in Louisiana that Meta is planning is a $27 billion facility. It'll cover more than 4 million square feet. That's small. There's one planned for Utah, backed by Kevin O'Leary, 40,000 acres. And here's my question. Have you ever heard one? Have you ever heard one? Yeah, the one in Box Elder County, Utah, 40,000 acres, 62 square miles. It's insane. Anyhow, listen to this. That's all you really need to hear. You get it. That's from about a half mile away, by the way. About a half mile away. Ivy jumping into the conversation. Look, we've not been near one. There are several planned around us, Ivy. In fact, they're planned just about everywhere. And first of all, our questions are this. What are they for, really? Yeah. Are they? I think they're to monitor you, me, and everything else. It's not for my pictures on the phone. They've done that for years. Don't need it for that. Right. Don't need it for my text messages. Done that for years. Anyhow, good morning.
Good morning. So you said how many thousand square feet there? 42,000?
40,000 acres.
40,000 acres.
Acres.
Steve, what kind of...
That's 2.5 times the size of Manhattan. Go ahead.
2.5 times the size of Manhattan for a data center.
For a data center in Utah.
That is an incredible amount of space.
Well, the one that Meta's building is $27 billion.
And where is that? Do you know where that one was going in?
Where was that? I'll have to back up and look here. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's talk about what data centers do. And yes, I understand the concern about, watching, you being watched and monitoring everything that you do.
Sure.
But they do, in terms of internet and cloud services. So Netflix.
I get all that.
Storing data, processing data, computing power. So like if you have websites and things like that.
But we're already doing that.
Right. But think about how many more people are coming online, if you think of X and its broadcasting capabilities, our broadcasting, streaming, everyone's going to streaming.
That's true.
And so I understand, I definitely understand the concern, especially because, we had a podcast guest on this, and I believe is she coming up here in the next couple weeks?
She is.
But one of my biggest concerns is the massive energy consumption that is needed. Can you imagine what kind of energy consumption is needed for that size of a data center?
Well, it's an incredible amount of energy that gets gobbled up, to say the least, and it's driving people's rates up.
Well, not only that, but because you have to think about it. You have a computer, right? It has it's essentially like a massive, warehouse of servers. And they have to keep those servers cool because they're running 24/7.
Correct. That's the noise it's the cooling system, I believe, making all that noise. The data center we just listened to.
Go ahead. Other concern then is because you have to keep it cool, you have to use literally some facilities use millions of liters or gallons of water per day.
Yeah.
Which can create a local strain on water supply. Especially if you think of Utah, which is a lot of desert.
Yeah,
where are they going to get their water from?
Yeah.
And I think this is something that can be disputed or argued, is that water system closed? Because there is evaporation as things heat and you're cooling things. You're going to have a natural evaporation, so you're going to have to begin to bring water in. And heat generation.
But my question is this: what's the condition of that water exiting the plant? Is it still usable?
Well, they say that the water is a closed system.
Of course they say that.
But the water needs to come in as well. You're going to have to continue to bring water in.
Right. See, here in Michigan, I don't worry about water. We've got the Great Lakes. We've got tremendous amounts of water. I don't worry about water. Never have in Michigan. But Utah, Nevada, wherever, they're already, Nevada and those states are already short on water. Right. The Colorado River almost doesn't make it to Mexico anymore already.
And one thing we don't talk about, too, is that these data centers need backup generators, because if the power goes down...
That's right.
Then you're talking about acres for a facility that large. You're going to need to have, a dozen generators or more?
Giant. I mean, these are as big
generators?
as 18-wheelers, and they're diesel powered generators, most of them. Some of them are natural gas, and others are just taking from the grid, which drives up the energy prices, because something that I hate in this country is all the power companies are basically monopolies in every state. Everybody knows this. The government-endorsed monopolies. There's no competition. I can't just go start a power company and plug in. Can't do that.
And what you played there is that noise pollution. So I don't recall what the distance is that you need to be from a data center, but there is that noise
that was half a mile.
That was half a mile away.
Right. I mean,
so
half a mile away.
And so you can say how far away does this data center need to be for there not to be that sort of noise pollution?
Well, here's the other thing. Here's the other game being played by, like I said, the one that you asked about, Meta, $27 billion facility in Louisiana, 40,000 acre facility in Utah, and it what does it do to the environment in general? Here's this giant footprint, bam.
Yeah.
Right? And
well, you have to clear, depending on where you're putting the facility, you might have to clear a bunch of trees. You might have to.
Right. And here's the game. I was going to mention this. They go into these small towns. They don't have a lot of regulation, small townships, and they just steamroll them. They've got $27 billion. They get in good with the politicians on the county commission.
And then they sign non-disclosure agreements.
They do that, which should be criminal. Yeah. Your politicians should not be allowed to sign NDAs ever. They've done that in Michigan for so long. It makes my head burst. But they go into these small communities that are defenseless against multi-billion-dollar corporations and people. I mean, Kevin O'Leary, very wealthy, putting that deal together in Utah. Obviously, he's from Shark Tank and so forth. You know who he is.
Right.
And so they take advantage of small-town America.
Right. And I don't want to disparage, these people going in, but I think there needs to be transparency.
A lot of it.
And say, hey, it's going to create noise. We're going to use a lot of water. We're going to use a lot of energy. And so I know that Trump put out, what was it, that he was talking about a ratepayer protection pledge.
Right.
Which means that they need to essentially create their own energy because it requires so much energy.
That's right. And what he was talking about was modular nuclear or natural gas or your whatever.
Right.
You create your own power plant at these giant facilities so you don't impact the people that already live there. But it's changing. It's changing the landscape of small-town America in a lot of places, and these people don't want them.
Right.
I just watched one yesterday. We'll play it in the next hour. The whole place goes nuts because they don't want it. That's the one, I guess, in Utah. They don't want it, and the council votes right down the line. Bam, 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 bam. Yes, the people go crazy. It doesn't matter. And so data centers are going to be front and center. A lot of conversations about that, Ivy. I think we're just starting to see this evolution, and it's going to be a problem for some folks. Love you.
Love you. I'm hanging tight here.
Oh, you are? Good.
Yes, I am.
Well, then we'll be right back with Ivy. I should look at the rundown sometimes, huh? All right, I got a bit of breaking news for you here today. Even the rumor of peace in Iran sent the price of oil plummeting to $89 a barrel. And yet the price of gas went up again 8 cents. Makes no sense to me, but oil right now, $89.90 a barrel. It plummeted, let's see, more than $12.50. Even the rumor of peace brings the price plummeting. As soon as this thing's done, oil's going to be cheap, gas going to be cheap. Ivy, as she mentioned, still here. Ivy, I want to play you something here.
All right, let's
because here's from CBS News. I want to continue the data centers a bit more. The cost of energy, you talked about it. Listen to this.
Across the country, new data centers are driving up utility bills in at least 13 states. This analysis found Americans who live near data centers are paying as much as 267% more for energy than 5 years ago. And in the next 5 years, the amount of energy consumed by commercial buildings like data centers in Georgia will more than double.
Data centers will add billions of dollars to costs to electricity rates in Georgia if we don't get better protection than we have right now.
So I do have a question, Steve, about this.
All right.
Why would my electric bill be determined by someone else's energy usage? Because if
supply and demand. I mean, if they bite the supply so hard, which apparently they do, it makes the available energy more expensive. I mean, that's the answer, and that's why President Trump signed that executive order saying, I think it was an executive order saying, look, you got to supply your own energy. And we saw what they can do because we saw them transport that modular nuclear reactor in the back of a KC-135, right? We saw that happen.
Right. So so they're putting a strain on demand. And
Clearly.
And then therefore, because that amount of energy is going to, if again, a giant facility.
Correct.
Several acres.
Or millions
large.
of square feet. I mean, even the small one is 2 million square feet. I mean, that's bigger than any warehouse you've ever seen.
Right.
Ever.
So I can imagine that definitely takes a tremendous amount of energy. But I recall Trump saying something along the lines of, this is a infrastructure emergency in the United States for us to be able to compete in the world, to have these data centers. So I understand to some degree, but then we also need to make sure that it doesn't strain energy supply, and these data centers do need to make sure that they are somehow bringing energy back or creating their own energy supply. 100% absolutely agree with that. And two, how does it strain on water supplies?
Well, here's something else that comes to mind as I'm hearing you talk about this. In Michigan, these solar farms, which are not farms by any stretch of the imagination, they're like the polar opposite of a farm, but they call them solar farms so that they sound environmentally nice. In Michigan, the state government took over. Local municipalities have no control now over whether or not fields get filled with solar panels. I can foresee them doing the same thing with data centers. Oh, we don't care what the small town people think. We're going to build this data center because it's good for us. Did they really create that many jobs?
Well, I think
Not really.
I think they say, well, you can, this may not be forever. And a lot of these solar farms are going bankrupt because they're not generating enough energy. They just don't have the energy density to create enough energy.
Correct.
So then they get abandoned. And then what? And then so you have this giant solar farm. You cannot do anything else with the land.
That's right.
It is polluted. You cannot.
Permanently.
You can't make it a farm field anymore. So for me, that's like a little bit, to me, that's a national security issue.
I agree with that.
And we begin to see more and more of these solar farms or solar, I don't know, I don't like to necessarily, call them farms because that's not accurate. What do we do with them? But yeah, I mean, I think it is a very concerning issue, and we really need to make sure that we're being protected through energy supply, through water supply, through noise pollution, because there are things you can do, right? You can, I don't recall the woman's name, forgive me, that we had on to talk about this, but you can encase these data centers with concrete so that they don't emit those the noise pollution.
Right, and
that
you can
they
protect.
put off.
You got to protect the water. You got to protect the resources. And the thing, look,
well, you have to protect your neighbors too, because
we have enough places. Even in, I'll just use Michigan as an example. We live here.
Right.
Old car plants that have been shut down, big chunks of land that aren't being used for anything else. Make those the data centers. Make those the solar fields, if you will. Stop turning farmland into these facilities. We've got a lot of area in this country where factories have closed and places aren't being used that could be rededicated to this. If that's what you truly want, then do it that way.
Right.
Do it in places that have already been developed. Don't turn farm fields and forests into these deals.
Right.
I mean, that has to be a last resort.
Absolutely.
Has to be.
Well, this actually brings me to data security. I know a couple of years ago you were on a flight to D.C., you got off the plane, you set your phone down on a chair, and then
somebody swiped it.
And somebody took it.
Yeah.
So either if you lose your phone or your phone gets stolen, that is a way that a criminal can have access to your bank accounts pretty quickly.
Frightening, isn't it?
So I don't know how these criminals can do it. But imagine, okay, so you have two-factor authentication, right? They figure out, they get in your phone somehow, they see that you go to your banking apps, because they're going to look at everything. And then what they do is they try to access it, and they say, oh, I forgot my passcode. And then what you do, and this is what we've done, is you have a text message sent to your phone to then give you a new passcode. So the criminal has your phone, and then they can get into your bank account because they have access to your two-factor authentication. And so you need to make sure that you are securing your devices, have a very strong passcode, 1, and 2, make sure that your two-factor authentication goes to an email or something else so that then you are protected. Because if a criminal can get in, now email is also used on your phone, but some other way.
Yeah, the criminal might be the government, as we've been talking about all this intrusion in our vehicles. Now, I told you yesterday about there are going to be boats on the Great Lakes that are going to be autonomous boats floating around watching everybody.
On May 4th, the Great Lakes District announced it would deploy wind and solar-powered sail drones to monitor all sorts of things happening. And monitoring you.
And you.
Yeah.
Look, we're cool. I get it. But we're not that interesting. We don't need to be monitored 24 hours a day.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, what's up? The boats, by the way, have evasive technology, so you can't run over them either. Just so you know. All right, love you.
Love you, Steve.
Anyhow. What do you guys think? Send us an email, stevegruber.com. Jump in the chat on YouTube or Getter. Let us know. Back after this. All right, here's something for you. We're going to continue this conversation about data centers because coming up in just about 5 minutes, I'm going to have a guest, a national security guest, Ashley Davis, who is involved with this data center in Utah. We can find out some of the questions we've been asking here today that you're asking, all right? We're going to dig a little deeper into that and see what we can figure out because it is incredibly important that we know. And the questions from me are, first of all, what are they all for? That's question number one. Why is it that they have to be so massive? What is the actual impact on the environment? These are all legitimate questions. And why does the government think that in so many places they can do an end run on the people in these small communities and ignore their concerns and say, we don't want it here. Well, we're putting it here anyway. You know, so there's a lot of things going on. Is it a matter of national security? We will ask Ashley Davis in a moment here. Speaking of those on the left that are obsessed with hating billionaires and hating the capitalist system, how about the guy who is accused of starting the Palisades Fire in California? It killed 12 people, devastated that region, burned thousands of structures, including homes, and I don't believe a single home has been rebuilt in California. Well done, Governor. Governor Newsom and his people standing in the way of getting it figured out, yeah. Anyhow, he admits that he was a big fan of Luigi Mangione, this arsonist. He was a radical leftist. And there you go. A lot going on in the world for sure right now. Escalating global conflict, threats to infrastructure, supply chains, growing concerns about food shortages. Enough to make you stop and think, hey, am I ready for what comes next? I've talked about preparedness a lot over the years, and if you've been sitting on the fence, it's time to get started. That's why my friends at My Patriot Supply have created the Family Starter Pack. Each kit gives you an emergency food supply that feeds your family for a full week, plus the tools you'll need to actually use it, like off-grid cooking gear, backup water filtration, backup power, all for as little as $100 per person. It's in stock and ready for you right now. Go to preparewithrav.com. Preparewithrav.com. Take this one simple, affordable step to make sure your family is protected with the things you need in an emergency. Look, it could just be a tornado, a hurricane, a snowstorm, a flood, anything, or something more serious. Preparewithrav.com. Get started now. Preparewithrav.com. Data centers. We continue that conversation straight ahead. All right, back to it now. Ashley Davis, national security expert and author of Power Pivot with Grit, Grace, and Growth. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Nice to see you again. As you heard Ivy and I talking
you.
about this, a lot of folks have a lot of questions, and you're involved with this project with Kevin O'Leary because you work with him. You have for a long time. So you've been intimately involved for a couple of years with this operation in Utah. 40,000 acres, from what I read. It's massive, but you told me in the break it's on a former military site, or it's on a military site, so it's not taking up land that would otherwise be public land and so forth. So let's ask some of the questions. First of all, this is massive. I mean, 40,000 acres is massive, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And originally, well, first of all, I've been working on data center projects for years with Kevin. Utah just kind of came up in the last 5-6 months, and just kind of giving you the story of what we experienced. We've been in every Republican state that has a Republican governor, I should say, because you can't get any of this stuff done in Democrat states like you can't get anything done in Democrat-led states. So, and the issue has always been that governors will not let energy get off the grid of their prices for their individuals that live in their communities. So
let
the
me jump
fact
in on
that some
that.
of these energies, yeah.
So what you're telling me is that the power for this facility or the one in Louisiana, the Meta facility that's $27 billion or whatever, you can't go into a state and say we're going to take all of this energy out of the grid. They won't allow that. You have to be self-sufficient, if you will. So the energy companies are saying, well, we have to raise the rates because of this. But that's dishonest, is what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, I don't know any governor that lets it taken off the grid. And maybe that happened 10 years ago when these all started first being built, but that definitely does not happen now. And it's everything, and hasn't for years. And so, and even the president's been talking about that any of these hyperscalers, Meta, whoever it is, that are building these sites have to make their own energy, which is called behind the grid energy. So that's why you have such a supply rush for turbines and things like that, because you can't take it from the everyday gas or electric prices of the people in your community. So what's important about this from a national security point is one, and I 100% agree with President Trump on this. If we don't win the AI race, then China will. And he is doing everything he can. Republican governors are doing everything they can to make sure that that regulation is in a good place so America compete and actually not even compete, win the AI war. But I just experienced this with the vote this week, the local county commissioner vote in Utah. 90% of the people that showed up to protest the commissioner vote were not from the state of Utah, because the environmentalists are shipping people in from across the country.
Just
and
like
so,
they do
listen,
for everything.
Yes. And so it's just very hard. I mean, Kevin and I, when we started these projects a long time ago, our number one thing is not taking anything off the grid that affects the people, 2, giving everything back to the communities. So out of this 40,000 land, some of it is military, as you said, some of it's a desert basin. Obviously, a lot of it is owned by ranchers. It's their own private land that they're not utilizing. None of it is public land. But there's just a lot of some of the things that we saw spread online and some of the things that were being said just are 100% not accurate. So I think it's important for us to get the message out. The Department of War, the administration, is 100% behind us in regards to making sure that America has this capability on our soil. A lot of the data centers that have been built over the last 5 years have been in the Middle East or in Ukraine, actually. And so with what's happening between Ukraine and what's happening right now in the Middle East, we don't want our data not safe in those areas. We want it here in the United States.
All right, so let me ask you this. This is the question that I've had from the beginning.
Okay.
Why do we need all of these data centers? I mean, there's hundreds of them planned, hundreds of them being built here, Ukraine, Middle East, wherever. For what? Because I say that because, look, my phone already stores pictures. I can already compute. I get my streaming data. I get everything I need. What is happening that we need all of this storage of information?
I would say just the transformation of data in general. I mean, just everything we do now, all of our banking is done through, electronics. All of the AI capability that's happening is due through electronics. And I don't think, listen, we can't, as the country, we can't put our head in the sand and say, oh, we don't like AI, because it's here to stay, and either we're going to win this war or not. I mean, even look with what's happening in regards to Iran and how we're fighting this war. all of that now is being done through AI. I would argue that our military, even though we have the best missiles in the world, that's not how these wars are being fought. You see how Iran's attacking our ships with these little drones, or you see how the Ukraine is dealing with Russia right now, which is with robots and drones. So all of that takes energy to build, and all of that takes the why these data centers are being built.
Yeah. I ask that because it seems to me that it's just a tremendous amount of these things. And I understand AI, but there are other concerns. Avi was talking about the security concerns of these things. As we become ever more connected, I mean, is privacy just a cute thought from the past? Because, look, they're putting the cameras in our cars. They've got the cameras in our phones. They've got, on the Great Lakes, they're putting out autonomous vehicles with cameras on them to watch everybody that's out on the Great Lakes this summer. I mean, the government... AI can be a great thing. Maybe it can cure cancer. Maybe it can do a lot of great things, and it's really possible. But watching me every day, 24 hours a day, that's not part of the equation. We do have a thing called the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution that says unreasonable search and seizure is not legal. Well, if you're watching me everywhere we go, I mean, you walk down a street in Salt Lake City, Utah. How many cameras are you on at the same time? Some of them are government, some of them are private. At any given moment, how many cameras are you on in any city in America or the world for that matter?
Absolutely. I mean, this discussion that I actually was a part of years ago was during the Patriot Act after 9/11. I mean, I kind of feel this horse has left the barn, whether you agree with it or not, but you're 100% right. I mean, we are 100% on, and even worse from 2001, 2002, 2003 days. I mean, we are definitely we should not assume, unless you opt out of everything that goes that you are a part of on your phone, or aren't a part of any social media or things like that, you're definitely being watched. And then walking down the street, yes, I mean, there's a good side of that too, which is obviously how we, if there's some crimes that are committed, that we can use those cameras. But yeah, I think everyone should realize that you are on camera 24 hours a day in some form or fashion.
And I do it by choice. But for people who don't, it's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, criminals out there, they know when you're on vacation, they know when you're doing this, and then you've got cyber criminals. I mean, so if these places get hacked, it could really be a disaster. Anyhow, all right, you've answered a lot of questions. I appreciate that, because we're trying to, look, this is the relentless pursuit of truth. I just want to see where it leads, and I don't know what all the answers are. I'm just a guy living out here, right? And watching this happen. So last word to you.
The right question. Sorry, yeah, and I just think that the questions are right that you're asking. I think that also doing it responsibly in regards to building these centers, and doing it that gives back to the community with all the tax breaks and all of the money that will go back in the community. 100% new schools, new sheriffs, new police stations, all of that comes along with it as well.
We hope
But we can't. Oh, absolutely. No, that's definitely part of every deal. But you can't. We can't do nothing and say we're going to overregulate everything, and then we're just going to be left behind, which is the president's message.
Right. Ashley, tell Kevin, come on down. We'll talk to him next anytime he wants. Appreciate seeing you as always. Thank you.
Okay, I'll let him know. I'll give him Anthony's contact.
There you go. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
All right, bye-bye.
Ripping back the curtain on everything we can find today, just like a bull in a china shop we are here. The next thing up is the Jones Act. The Jones Act requires that if you're shipping from port to port in the United States, you have to use American ships, and I believe you have to have an American crew, but it often gets set aside in times of crisis like what's going on in Iran. You've got all these foreign ships coming in to fill up with oil in the Gulf of Mexico, for example. But what does it mean really? Garrett Rice is the CEO of the Master Boat Builders and vice chair of the Shipbuilders Council of America. Garrett, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Nice to see you here. Now, you warned that the Jones Act waiver, which happens, it's happened a lot. You know, anytime there's a crisis, it gets waived, it seems. But you say that's a benefit to China and not us. Now, and I'm confused by that. If it requires American boats and American crews to move American stuff, to me, I would think, well, that would mean that you need more American ships, right? But somehow we have a shortage. What am I missing?
Well, a shortage may not be the right way to put it right now. The president waived the Jones Act recently in an effort for national defense using Section 501A. There is another method to do this. Section 501B actually allows us to look and see what the needs are and what the fleet is capable of doing in the U.S. right now. And if there is a shortage of U.S. ships to move product, then the administration can waive that actual trip rather than waiving the entire Jones Act for an extended period of time.
So, all right. So, what does it mean? You're part of the shipbuilders here in America. Why don't we build ships here anymore? I mean, that's one of the things Donald Trump has also asked. Why?
I think that's one of the largest false narratives around shipbuilding in the United States. Right? We do build ships in the United States. The conversation that we only build 2 ships a year is extremely false. In our shipyard alone, we're going to build over 8 tugboats this year, over 100-foot tugboats just outside my window right now. There's over 150 shipyards in the United States, most of them privately owned. In our shipyard alone here, we got over 450 employees in South Alabama. In the Great Lakes, there's 3 or 4 shipyards averaging over 5,000 people. Across the Gulf Coast, 25,000, 30,000 shipyard workers. So this narrative that we only build 1 to 2 ships a year is extremely false. And I think that's the narrative that people want to say when they want to move their products and make more money for themselves, rather than looking at the bigger picture. And really, at the end of the day, it's about national defense. If we don't have a strong maritime industrial base, we cannot build the Navy we need to build. The president right now wants to build the largest and biggest and baddest Navy in the world, and I think we have that today, and we're continuing to build that. But if companies like mine and other shipyards around the country don't have a commercial market to build to, in the time of war, in the time of need, we will not be able to step up and build the Navy that the country needs.
Yeah, what you're building is impressive. 100-foot tugboats, 8 of them this year. That's an impressive achievement to me. I can't build anything, so for you to do that, I'm impressed. All right, so 150 shipyards in America. How many do we need, Garrett? How many do we need?
Well, it depends on what the commercial demand is. Right now, the government is spending quite a bit of money on the Navy shipbuilding side of things, which is great. The One Big Beautiful Bill appropriated quite a bit of funds recently to increase the size of the Navy. The president says we need more ships in the water faster for the warfighter, which shipyards are stepping up to the plate to do that. Expanding capacity is something that the United States shipyard industry has always done when the market's there to do it. When the commercial market is there, we will expand the capacity in the United States. There's investments sitting on the sidelines right now, U.S. investments sitting on the sidelines right now, ready to invest billions of dollars, in particular one large investment platform ready to invest billions of dollars into the shipyard industry, into building new Jones Act vessels. But with a waiver like we have right now, an extended waiver for 150 days, that's on hold. Speaking to this group recently, they are putting 100% of that investment on hold until they understand what's going to happen with this waiver.
Well, let me ask you this, because for me, a lot of things always come back to the same place. That's China. And China is building ships. We have 150 shipyards. Any idea how many China has? How many ships are they building? What are they doing?
Yeah, so China's building more ships than we are every year. There's no arguing that fact. China, Korea, the Far East builds quite a few ships a year. However, the difference is we're building ships to a commercial market in a capitalistic society. In China, most of the shipyards are state-owned and heavily subsidized by the government. When I say heavily subsidized, the shipyards are funded by the government, so ships are paid for by the government. And so in the U.S., we don't have that. We have a commercial market. We have a capitalistic society that has done very well for our industry for a long time. And so to compare the U.S. shipbuilding market to the international Chinese market when subsidies are coming from everywhere, it's not a fair comparison to make.
We've got to do better. That's what I'm hearing here, Garrett. We've got to do better. We've got to build more. We've got to be more competitive. We need, regardless of what our economic system is.
Well, in the Jones
we
Act,
need more ships, right? Go ahead.
That's right. The Jones Act allows that in the United States. It keeps the shipyard and the maritime industry healthy. It keeps it strong. It's done that for over 100 years. And so to waive the Jones Act for an extended period of time, it weakens that. It weakens the strength of the employees working out behind me right now. It allows Chinese ships and Chinese mariners and Chinese crews to come operate in U.S. waters and move U.S. goods from port to port without any immigration laws, without paying U.S. taxes. A waiver of the Jones Act allows that sort of thing to happen, where we've had this solid law and the foundation of the maritime industrial base for so long. And an extension of the waiver, any type of waiver like this, a blanket waiver, without using the law that's already there to make waivers in a time of need for specific voyages, is just going to weaken the maritime industrial base, which is contrary to what the president's trying to do now.
Garrett Rice, good conversation. We'll have you back as this continues. 150 days, as you said. So there are real-world impacts. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. What do you guys think? Send me an email, stevegruber.com. Here's what I think. I slept really well last night. I'm not kidding you. This Oura ring that Ivy makes me wear, I study my sleep. I'm really persistent and consistent about it because it's important. And since we shipped over to the Ghost bed, man, has it gotten better. First night I slept on, I thought, wow, this is great. And it just seems to be getting better. It's been a couple of months now. Ghost Bed is an American-made sleep system. I wouldn't call it a mattress. It's a sleep system, and it's really working well for us. It's important because your body has to recover when you sleep. That's the point of it, all right? But if you're waking up stiff or you're not sleeping because you're hot, try a Ghost Bed. Try a Ghost Bed, made in America, and you can try it for 101 nights risk-free. So why not support the American company? Check it out. Ghostbed.com. Right now, you'll get 10% off the best price of the year because you're a viewer of this program. Ghostbed.com. The promo code is Gruber. Ghostbed.com, promo code Gruber. You'll be glad you did this. I'll be back. All right, time to check in on sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 2 Game 1s in round 2 of the NBA playoffs last night. In the East, Detroit knocked off Cleveland 111-101. All 5 starters were in double-figure scoring for the Pistons. Out west, Oklahoma City ripped the LA Lakers 108-90. Chet Holmgren had 24 points, 12 rebounds for the Thunder. In the NHL playoffs, there was just one game. Game 2 of round 2 between Colorado and Minnesota. The Avalanche won 5-2 to take a 2-0 series lead. Nathan MacKinnon had a goal and 2 assists for the Avs. In Major League Baseball, there were 13 games last night. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Minnesota, and the LA Angels. National League winners included Atlanta, the Chicago Cubs, and San Diego. 2 other games were rained out. The NHL's draft lottery was last night, and the Toronto Maple Leafs won the first pick. The San Jose Sharks will pick second. Vancouver gets the third pick. The NHL draft is on June 26th. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Again, giving you an update, and if you're just joining us, the price of oil has plummeted to $89 overnight. Just the rumor of peace in Iran sends the price of oil plummeting. But gas, they raised it again 6 or 8 cents overnight. Doesn't make any sense, does it? No, it does not. Oil was $139 a barrel when Joe Biden was in the White House, July 2022. Gas got to about $5. It's over $5 all over the country right now. You explain that to me, and then we'll all understand. We're getting gamed. And, you know, you can tell me it's a global commodity and this. We're getting gamed. I believe that the oil companies will post record profits for this quarter. I could be proven wrong, and if I am, I will tell you so. That's the difference between me and everybody else. If I'm wrong about something, I'll tell you. But I don't think I'm wrong. I mean, how do you go to the gas pump and see diesel at $6.25 a gallon and gas at $5 when the price of oil was sitting at about 92, 93, got up to 100, 102, and now it's back to 89? And they continue to rack up the price and crank it up on gasoline? No, my friends, something's wrong with that picture. For those of you on Real America's Voice, Sunrise is next. For the rest of you on MTN and all the streaming platforms, Hour 3 is on the way. You don't want to miss it. Nice to see you this morning.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, here we are, diving right back into it. It is the relentless pursuit of truth here every single morning. Glad to have you on board with us as we continue digging through the big headlines. Number one this hour of 3 big things you need to know. Oil prices have dumped to $89 a barrel. Big move just on the idea that there might be peace in this world. That's right, we'll have that. Number two, Indiana. Indiana proves that MAGA is alive and well, very well, in fact. Several candidates backed by Donald Trump oust incumbents that didn't vote for redistricting. That's a big deal. And number three, let me talk about this because this is a big deal too. It just crossed the wire. Kash Patel accusing the FBI of lying to obtain warrants used to illegally spy on Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. The FBI director says FISA court ruled warrants as illegal after finding the FBI lied in applications. Pretty remarkable. Kash Patel accused the FBI of lying to obtain surveillance warrants to illegally spy on President Donald Trump during his 2016 presidential campaign and throughout his first term in office. This is disgusting. The FBI lied to do surveillance on a presidential candidate, on the president-elect, and then on the president himself after he took the oath of office. The president has long accused his opponent, Hillary Clinton, of being behind it all, and former President Barack Obama, for spying against his campaign, an allegation they continue to deny, but the evidence just keeps piling up. Patel detailed a years-long federal investigation into the alleged surveillance on a podcast with Sean Hannity. Here's what he said. It took me 2 years of my life to prove the following, that a political party in the United States of America in the 21st century would go overseas and hire some bogus intelligence asset to manufacture fraudulent, fake, unverified information. Funnel that not just to the intelligence community, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And then take those packaged lies that they had paid for with campaign finance funds and go into a secret surveillance court and illegally spy on your opponent to be the president of the United States. If we don't have accountability for this, we have accountability for nothing. For nothing. Patel's comments come as scrutiny is intensifying over Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. Section 702 of FISA permits authorized American officials to collect phone calls, text messages on foreign targets, but in doing so can also capture Americans' communications, a piece of legislation Trump strongly opposes. Patel telling Fox News that FISA warrants, some signed by the former FBI Director James Comey, were used to illegally spy on Trump and top officials. Now, that's what brings me back to this 86-47 seashell charade. If you're going to hold James Comey accountable, hold him accountable for something serious. This is serious. Very serious, in fact. I was illegally spied on, said Patel. The likes of Rod Rosenstein, former U.S. Deputy Attorney General, and Chris Wray, former FBI Director, and 10 other staffers on the Hill and people who were elected to serve this country in the halls of Congress. They were actually continuing the weaponization that Donald Trump and I had exposed during Trump 1. Patel was a member of the National Security Council in 2019. He became Deputy Assistant to the President, Senior Director for Counterterrorism during Trump's first term, Chief Investigator, primary author of the 2018 Nunes Memo, alleging FBI bias in the Trump-Russia interference investigation, which was all bogus. The FBI-approved warrants that Patel shared were later rescinded by the FISA court in 2018 after a federal investigation into the alleged spying was complete. The FISA court themselves came back and said these warrants were illegal. The FBI did not provide evidence of exculpatory evidence and innocence, and that the FBI essentially lied to those applications, and all the information was unverified. I don't think that's ever happened before. Hollywood could not come up with this, Patel said. And he says the weaponization of law enforcement did not end when Trump left office in 2021, but was reignited under the Biden administration. He also vowed to uncover additional evidence. I knew in the 4 years that we were out of office, they were continuing to regenerate that institution of weaponization, said Patel. So when I walked in the door, I said, we only got a bit of it, maybe half of it. And then they found the burn bags and everything else. They found the burn bags and everything else. Pretty remarkable, isn't it? That your federal government and operatives from one political party would manipulate through fraud the investigation of its opposition party. The evidence continues to come out, and I want to see John Brennan, James Clapper, Jim Comey, Rod Rosenstein, and all of them, up to and including Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, held accountable. If what we're seeing here is in fact true, and I believe it is, this was an attempt, a nearly successful attempt to overthrow the United States government duly elected. That's not supposed to happen in America. It's beyond the pale on so many levels, it's hard to even to consider. Like Patel said, Hollywood could not come up with something like this. And for those that continue to tell you, well, MAGA is dead, I can assure you, friends, it is not. How do I know? Well, let's take Indiana just yesterday, for example. 7 incumbent state senators in Indiana that voted to not redistrict that state were challenged in the primaries. Donald Trump endorsed 7 candidates in 7 races. 6 of those incumbents lost yesterday, tossed out. Only 1 was able to survive, and that's because of an anomaly. There were 3 candidates in that race, 2 of which had the same last name, Wilson, split the vote. Otherwise, it would have been a clean sweep. But 6 out of 7 lost yesterday in Indiana. Donald Trump had a very big day. Does he still wield political power? Quite clearly. Is MAGA dead? Obviously not. Anyhow, the redistricting battles will continue. Indiana will redistrict, not before 26, but before 28. Bet your bottom dollar on it. It'll add 1 or 2 seats to the Republicans there as well. As we talked about at the top of the program here today, if Republicans maximize redistricting the way Democrats have done in New England, where there's not a single Republican representative. New England does not have a single member of Congress that's a Republican. 80 million people, not a Republican to be found, because Democrats have gamed the system. Illinois is a masterclass. Democrats 14 seats, Republicans 3, even though Republicans are almost half the state. If Republicans do the same thing, they'll have 250 seats or more in the House. 250. Democrats would have 175. Interesting math, isn't it? It's getting exciting. I'll be right back. All right, let's jump back into it now with the most remarkable human being wandering the backwoods of Michigan. Lost more often, but you can usually find him. If he gets a hot scent of a hot burger and a cold beer, he's on the track. It's Ron Rademacher. Right,
yeah,
Ron?
You can. Good morning, Steve. You can always find your way out of the woods if your sniffer still works, because somebody's cooking a burger somewhere.
Yeah, boy. Anyhow,
my buddy Long Haul Vanderbilt claims that he can smell morels in the woods. That's how he finds them.
He
can walk through the woods and he can smell them.
I'm going to confess this. We had the best pick we've had ever here, 10 days ago or so in Albion, Jackson County. Remarkable day. I got a note from Brother Shane. He said they found a load. In a place they usually find a few, they found a load. His wife did. Shane's, sitting on the couch demanding supper. Yeah. But anyhow, I'm getting reports from all over. Just maybe all that water we got, boom. Just good stuff.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not an aficionado, but I do know where the festivals are.
Well, that's important.
And yes, we've been getting great reports about morels. So, Mother's Day is coming up, Steve.
That's right.
And there are two big morel mushroom festivals this weekend. One in Mesick, the capital of the morel mushroom capital of the world, according to them. And they do have a great festival there. And the other one of our favorite towns, Lewiston, is having their morel mushroom festival. So you can go over there and get some morels. They do guided hunts out of there too. So if you're a newbie, there's some great country. That's Jack Pine country. Great country up there for finding morel mushrooms.
I went on a guided morel hunt once. Ivy and I did. Our sum total was 0. Not complaining. It was not in Lewiston, by the way. Just to spare them any grief. Anyhow.
Okay, well, and I hope it wasn't our buddy Tony up there in Boyne City, because he usually is the one who gets it done.
No, Tony will go to the grave with his spots. That's the sad thing. He was it Tony that told us in a gathering one time. He finally told his son about one of his okay spots. His son was 41 years old when he told him about one of his okay spots.
Well, he is the 5-time world champion for a reason. He doesn't give it away any more than you're going to tell people where your favorite fishing hole in Newaygo is.
Well, everybody knows it's the same fishing hole. Anyhow.
In case you've had enough of morels, also, I just want to remind everybody, this is the time of year, if you've never been, Mother's Day weekend is a great time of year to go to the Trillium Ravine.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic spot down by Buchanan. You can go to MichiganBackroads.com, get the directions, because you're going to want the directions. Nobody around there is going to be able to tell you how to do it, but you will not forget this incredible ravine. Quite large, short walk, maybe a half a mile, but it is breathtaking for about 2 weeks a year.
And that time is now.
Time is now.
All right.
If you've got trilliums coming up in the ditches and in the woodlands, wherever you happen to live, southern Michigan, northern Michigan, the ravine will be in full bloom about 2 weeks ahead of that. So now's the time to go.
All right, there you go. Mother's Day, it's a little special event. There you go.
Absolutely. We are going to be I'm going to stick this in there, Mother's Day. We will be on the world tour in Mount Clemens for the Made in Michigan Arts and Crafts Fair this whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday, downtown Mount Clemens. So come and say hello. I'll be there. Kathy will be there. Bob the Turtle will be there. The new book will be there.
Bob will be there? Well, why didn't you say so?
You got to get Bob in there.
All right.
So that's what's going on Mother's Day. There's a lot of other stuff going on for the outdoors people. 2 great fishing events coming up. Not 2 great fishing events, 2 outdoor ones. One is for birding, so all you bird lovers out there on Belle Isle Park, which has got to be just beautiful by now with the flowers out there. That's May 9th. And in Matawan, the Wolf Lake Fishery, one of my favorite fisheries, the whole state, they're having the damsels fly fishing demonstration to teach women how to fly fish, which of course Ivy does
Yeah,
not have that.
I get taught how to fly fish every time I'm with Ivy. She says, no, do it this way. I'm like, really? And she's right.
Didn't we have a great picture of a monster trout from Montana
Yeah.
or someplace last year?
New
They're
Mexico.
still talking.
Yeah, New Mexico. They're still talking about it down there in Santa Fe, I can tell you.
Yeah,
Good
I'm sure
Lord.
they are.
Yeah. Here's something.
You got Free Museum Day at Cambridge Junction, which is down by Brooklyn, and it's worth going because this is one of the few times a year where the Walker Tavern is open. Great history there.
All right. Well, there's something I want to jump on here.
Washington.
The tavern in Brooklyn, I like that. But we were in St. Ignace last week, and we drove through on either way on our way to. We stayed in Gladstone and spent some time right there doing the governor's debate, which was interesting. And just loved it, by the way. So I see the St. Ignace Jeep the Mac, a.k.a. Jeep the Yoop tour. So I find that interesting. What is that?
Yeah, well, they all the Jeep, they gather all over. We have them gather out at Silver Lake. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Jeep drivers.
Yeah.
And they have some Willis Jeeps from World War II. They have all the Jeeps come and they drive across the Mackinac Bridge, and then they gather in St. Ignace. Of course, they have a Jeep blessing before they go, and then they have they have some beverages afterwards to lubricate the drivers. And it's a great time. Food, drink, and lots of Jeep stuff, and
lubrication.
Who has most of those little rubber duckies, on their deck, on their that thing?
I don't know where that ever started, but I see some guys cruising down the road, or women, whatever. They got like 25 or 30 of those things across the dash. Anyhow.
Oh yeah, Kathy's going through a real problem right now. She just traded her Jeep for a great deal she got on a Ram 1500.
Yeah,
and
you can't put the ducks in there.
Her little ducks. She's afraid if she puts them on the dash of the Ram, the other Ram people will ram her.
Yeah.
So,
MichiganBackroads.com, the place to get a hold of Ron and find his great books. And if you have an event or a festival you'd like talked about right here in the Big Shoe, MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com. Ron, keep it safe out there.
You bet, brother. Talk to you later. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
Try to keep out of trouble now.
You're welcome.
All right, so the department, I just don't understand this. Again, the Supreme Court has been very clear about this, right? About the right to keep and bear arms for self-protection, and they have said that commonly used weapons are protected by the Second Amendment. It's clear. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right. As Clarence Thomas wrote, it's not. Well, the Justice Department had to file suit yesterday against the city of Denver because that city has unconstitutionally banned certain constitutionally protected semi-automatic rifles. These laws infringe on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms in common use for lawful purpose. The Constitution is not a suggestion, and the Second Amendment is not a second-class right, so said Todd Blanche, the acting Attorney General. Denver's ban on commonly used semi-automatic rifles directly violates the right to keep and bear arms. The Department of Justice will vigorously defend the liberties of law-abiding citizens everywhere. There you have it. Will they ever learn? The answer is no. Now, did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity, and cyber criminals in this ever-connected world are targeting it with a scam the FBI calls house stealing? The alarms and doorbells and cameras you have aren't going to do a thing against these folks. They're not going to steal your TV. They're going to steal your equity because you've been paying your mortgage for years and years. If your title isn't being monitored, scammers can transfer your title by filling out some documents down at the county, and then they take loans against your property and your value and against your equity. Or they could sell the house or the property outright, and you won't even know that until you get those notices in your mailbox. Then it's too late. The best way to protect your equity is with Triple Lock Protection from my friends at Home Title Lock. Triple Lock Protection, 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid if the worst does happen, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. You can check on your home's title today and make sure you're not already a victim. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. A 14-day trial of their $1 million Triple Lock Protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title. Urgent alerts of any change in a fraud should happen. They'll spend $1 million to fix it. Go to HometitleLock.com right now. HometitleLock.com. Use that promo code Gruber. HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. You got it. Protect yourself. And, sleep well tonight. I'll be right back. Well, state Senate seat for District 35 has sat empty for, a very long time. Longest it's ever sat empty, I believe. Special election finally held yesterday. Tim Golding, Americans for Prosperity, Michigan State Director, joining me. Tim, good morning.
Top of the morning.
A lot to talk about today. Let's talk about that special election. It obviously opened when Democrat Kristen McDonald-Rivet left to serve in Congress after the 24 election. Took forever to fill it. Give the folks the feedback.
Yeah, so that was almost 500 days that district had taxation without representation, and we didn't have to throw any tea in the harbor, but last night that was ended, and we did get a new senator from that district, so people can be represented properly. And, I don't know all the reasons that was left vacant for as long as it was. I'm sure 90% of it was politically driven. But the governor could have called that at any time, like when the two state house members vacated their seat to be mayors of their cities. I think it was 24 or 23. I don't remember what year it was. She filled those seats right away, or, opened up the elections to fill those seats right away. And I think here she did it because she wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be. But nonetheless, those people are being represented, and that's a good thing. Not the candidate that we supported. Our candidate come up short this time, but we are looking forward to November when we'll have another bite at the apple. Higher voter turnout always in November. So it was disappointing last night.
Let me ask you something about these elections, because I know Chedrick Green was the winner there yesterday, which keeps the balance where it was. A Democrat left, a Democrat came in, and no real shakeup there, right. and the Senate remains evenly split. But in my area, for example, there was one question. It was about funding for a local school district, right? Shouldn't we put these elections on the general election and not have them in the middle of May or whatever? I mean, some talk about that, and I think that's a good idea. Look, you don't have any turnout for these things to speak of, right? People forget about 100%. Them oftentimes. We need to put them on the ballot with everything else. The president, the governor, the Senate race, whatever's going on. The big election should be all the elections, including these special elections for increases in funding for this or that. Your thoughts?
I agree 100%. When they put those millages, for example, on the May elections, they know the turnout's low. Yeah. The people that typically vote in those elections are the ones that are in favor of increasing taxes and millages and bonds and all those things. I believe all the elections should happen in November. Put all that stuff on the November ballot when the turnout's the highest. You get the greatest buy-in from a community on whether or not those are good things to pass or not. And also, it costs a lot of money to hold those May elections. It's not cheap. It's not free. It costs taxpayers money at the end of the day, unfortunately. So I think there's a bill. It's in the House, or it's going to be voted on. I think it may be still in committee, but there is a bill that's trying to move forward to move those elections to the general in November, which is exactly where they should be, because here they put them on the May election because they know they can control the turnout and the results. In my township, for example, the millage passed, the bond extension, which they couch it as no new taxes, but it's really just another continuation for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So it's not a tax relief, but it's not technically a tax increase. So the wording and all the things that go into it are sometimes deceptive, in my opinion, and all of that should be on the November ballot for sure. And I'm looking forward to this November when the turnout will be almost double what it was last night. So that's a big deal. When McDonald-Rivet won that seat, there were some other things on the ballot that helped the Democrats. There was, killing babies with abortions. There was term limits and a lot of different things that drove turnout on that side of the aisle. Those things aren't going to be here in November. So that will help the conservatives on the right side of the aisle in their elections as well. Because again, there'll be more voter turnout, which will benefit us.
Tim, I've often wondered this. Why don't Republicans do the same thing? Democrats have been masters. They put marijuana on the ballot when they need voter turnout. Boom, there it is. It pushes people. Abortions on the ballot. Boom, there it is. They push people. Why don't you put men and women's sports on the ballot, for example? That would drive conservatives to vote. Why do Republicans? It's always interesting to me. When Republicans learn to play the game, when the rules are set up by the Democrats, the Republicans tend to win. That's what's happening with redistricting around the country right now. The Democrats have gerrymandered the entire nation to the best of their ability and maximized their results by building bunker districts. Now that the Republicans are doing it, the Democrats are screaming bloody murder, of course, but the fact of the matter is Republicans are just catching up to the game. But once they learn to play the game, they tend to win. Why do Republicans find these 80-20 issues, put them on the ballot, the same as Democrats have done the other way around? It never happens.
That's a good question, and I've thought about that a lot, and I don't understand exactly why some of those things don't happen, because certainly they would drive turnout. I've said for years, put a ballot initiative that'll give away free gas for the next 20 years, and that'll turn out a whole bunch of people to vote. Whether it passes or not doesn't matter, but it'll get people to the polls. And you can definitely track that. And quite frankly, in Michigan, a lot of those ballot initiatives are from out-of-state groups. Always that way, and they have a unfair advantage in how they dictate what happens in our elections. And if Republicans or conservatives would take some of those tacks, we would be more successful.
Yeah, a couple other things. Let me ask you about election integrity. Democrats say there's no voter fraud, there's no cheating, this and that. And all of a sudden, at their own convention, we now know that hundreds of votes were cast that were not cast properly, some of them from out of the country. Hard for Democrats to look at me in the eye with a straight face and say, well, there's no voter fraud. Well, there was at your convention, there was voter fraud, because I don't know what else you would call it besides voter fraud. People are voting from home, people are voting from out of the country, and now the Attorney General says we need to investigate. Your own party that says there's no vote. How ironic, isn't it?
It's the same notion as you shouldn't have any ID to vote, but you still have to show ID to get into the Democratic National Conventions and all the different things, or to check a book out of the library, you have to have ID, whatever that looks like. But when they make these broad statements that there's no election integrity issues, that's wrong. If there's a way to cheat, people will find it. We don't know the size and the scope all the time of what those discrepancies are, or what those cheating schemes may be. But there is opportunity in any election for things to be done that are not above board. So you can't dismiss it totally. I don't know what the extent is in all elections, but there's a perfect example. The Democrats' convention a couple weeks ago had voter fraud. So they can't say that it doesn't exist when it benefits them. They have to be honest in their assessment of the issue and say that it does exist, the opportunity is there, and everybody should root out all election integrity issues so that your vote does matter, your vote does count. And we've seen some of these issues have turned people away from the polls because they don't think their vote matters. But I can tell you there's a lot of races that are decided by less than 100 votes or 200 votes or 400 votes. One of the Senate races in 22 was decided by 400 votes. One of the House races in 24 was decided by like 70 votes. So
that's right.
Your vote does matter.
Who was I talking to yesterday? A friend of mine said, I got to drop my ballot off. She goes, I never asked for it. It showed up anyway. And I'm like, how does that happen anyhow? And she was fine because she filled it out. But what if that shows up in somebody's house because somebody moved? I mean, this whole mail-in ballot thing is terrible. Anyhow, Tim, got to leave it there. A lot to pay attention to. It's an important mid-year, midterm elections, very important. Make sure you vote. A lot of people don't vote that need to get out in midterms, too. Absolutely true. Tim, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Really appreciate it. Americans for Prosperity, Michigan State Director Tim Golding here. Yeah, she got her ballot in the mail. Didn't ask for it, and there it was. Who's getting ballots that you don't know about, that shouldn't be getting them, that are turning them in and sending them back? Who? Pretty important stuff, isn't it? I'm going to take a break. I'll be back with Ivy, best part of the show, after this. All right, jumping right back into it with the beautiful and talented Ivy. Ivy, welcome back.
Thank you, Steve.
Nice to see you. Love those glasses, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to have a vast assortment. What do you think?
Well, we were at a lady's house here, a month ago, and she had this drawer that literally had dozens. And Ivy just looked at it, and she had a little drool right at the corner of her mouth.
I might have been coveting her drawer.
Thou shalt not.
I don't know if you saw this, but did you see Vivek Ramaswamy won the Republican primary for Ohio governor? Not that that's surprising.
No surprise.
But he won every county, which I found very interesting.
How many counties in Ohio?
Don't know. I did not live there.
88. Anyhow.
There you go. 88
He won them
counties.
all. I lived there, so.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great governor for that state. What do you think?
I think he's a great guy. Hardworking, smart guy.
Yeah.
With conservative values. I mean, that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. And did you know last night the California governor debate was going on?
I've got some of that sound for tomorrow. I did not have it for today, unfortunately.
So I want to play you a bite.
Wow.
Because I want to discuss something else. So that governor debate bite for me, Anthony, let's play that.
The job of the California governor to protect every single Californian. The sanctuary state policy is designed to make sure that our state resources, the taxpayer dollars, the public servants that we have are focusing on doing their jobs, which is not cooperating with the federal immigration authorities. These are Californians. They contribute to our economy. They pay taxes, and they're one of the only ways that our state has been growing in recent years.
That's Katie Porter.
Yeah.
Could be the ultimate Karen, by the way.
She could be. My favorite Katie Porter tape, those when she starts screaming obscenities at her assistant in the background.
So that was brought up during the debate last night, and I didn't pull this bite, but she was almost like breaking down in tears talking about it.
Yeah,
because
please.
she has been, really criticized about that, as she should be. But
she's not going to come out on top.
The point that I was wanting to make there about the California sanctuary city policies is that these policies are killing people. And the acting DHS Assistant Secretary Lauren Biss says that these towns, cities, states are playing Russian roulette with American lives.
Well, they are.
Because just a couple days ago, a Guatemalan that was just released. He raped a less than 13-year-old. He was arrested for aggravated sexual battery of a victim under 13 years of age, use of a computer to commit sex offense with a minor, and distributing drugs to a minor. And in the state of Virginia, they arrested this guy. They let him go. They released him.
A child rapist.
They did not comply or work with ICE in order so the ICE could detain him. Now, he has since been detained by ICE.
But please. So Virginia has a child rapist in custody.
Yes.
In the country illegally.
Yes.
Used the internet to, I'm going to assume, to seduce this child and then ply her with drugs and alcohol. And they put this child rapist back on the streets because they hate Donald Trump more than they love their own citizens. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to read you this. This is from Fox News. ICE had lodged a detainer after his arrest in June, asking a county not to release Garcia. But according to an ICE press release, sanctuary politicians refused to cooperate with ICE, and he was allowed to leave the court without ICE being notified.
First of all, how do you release a child rapist back on the streets at all?
My question exactly.
Regardless of the detainer, how do you release this guy back into the community at all?
It's unbelievable. And there was actually a gentleman, I believe it was yesterday, was murdered in Georgia, another illegal immigrant. And I didn't pull the specifics about that particular story, but it is just breaking. It's just one example after another.
And I've said this. I've asked this question. How many American women have to be killed? How many American children have to be raped?
Americans, period. It doesn't matter if they're women, children, or men.
I want to put it in that context because of the rapes, the murders, often involving American women. It does also involve men, but women disproportionately, the victims of these crimes.
Are women.
How many women have
And
to be murdered,
children.
Democrats? How many children have to be raped, Democrats, before you say, that's enough?
Yeah, specifically young children. I
Yeah.
mean, I
under
think
13.
I had 4 pages of criminal records of illegal immigrants who had done horrible things to young children.
Yeah.
4 pages. Like, we're talking about 30 people. Unbelievable. And so what do we need to do, Steve? How do we...
Well, I don't know. I go back to your Katie Porter. Oh, sanctuary states are good. No, they're not. Look, I have no issue at all with people that come here to work in America, on work visas and then go back to wherever they're from. I'm good with that.
Right.
But you vet those people. The 20 million people that came in during the Biden years weren't vetted. You've heard people complain about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Well, there's been an explosion in measles and this and that. These people weren't vetted. We don't know what diseases they brought in. We don't know what criminal record they brought in. We don't know what kind of anything they brought in.
Right. We have no idea who's here and who's not here because people
they just came
over the border and evaded capture, and we're
Remember
seeing the result of that every day in America.
And remember the videos we watched out of Texas? And I was down on the Texas border, as you know, a couple times, but the video of the big front-end loaders moving the barbed wire that Texas had put in to protect the Rio Grande River, and the federal government, under the order of Joe Biden, removed it. So people could flood under the razor wire into the country, unchecked, unvetted, and then unleashed.
We know, though, that this was a grand plan
course
in
it
order
is.
to get Democratic votes.
That's
because
right.
if you give them free health care and free living...
Here are the goodies.
Yeah, and then they'll vote for Democrats because then they get...
More goodies.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's crazy. Anyhow,
Sad story.
That case in Virginia, thankfully, thank God, he's back in custody. A child rapist. Virginia, it's a child rapist. I wonder if his name had been Bob Smith.
Yeah.
As
Thank
a
you,
child rapist.
Governor Spanberger.
Yeah, Spanberger. Yeah, well, what a prize. Anyhow, Ivy, love you.
I love you, Steve.
Geez. Just said, see me. How many women? How many kids? I'll be back. All right, well, oil prices plummet below $100 all the way down to $89, did West Texas Intermediate. Brent crude fell more than 10% to $98. This comes as there's an inkling that there might be a memorandum of understanding, to end the war in Iran. All it takes is the idea of peace. And oil prices fall, but again, the gas prices jacked up again overnight. None of this makes sense. None of it. Oil was $139 a barrel, July 2022. We've been nowhere near that mark. It peaked briefly weeks ago at 120, and then it fell down into the 90s, into the 80s, into the 90s. It was just over $100 for the last couple of days. It's nowhere near $139 a barrel, and yet the gas that you pay for, the diesel that you pay for, goes up every day, 6-8 cents. That makes no sense, friends. We're getting gamed here. I truly believe we are getting gamed. And the fact that we're exporting 5.3 million barrels of oil a day from this country, an all-time record high, plus gasoline and diesel finished products, that doesn't make sense to me either. Seems to me that the president could do something under the War Powers Act or something to say, we're not exporting any oil. We're not exporting any gas. We're not exporting any diesel. Help out the American consumer, flood our markets, and drive our prices down. We're not going to run out. That's not true in places like Australia. They could truly run out of fuel. Europe could run out of jet fuel. Sorry about your luck. Guess you should have helped out a little more. Maybe be in better shape. Those fools are turning the EU into a socialist utopia, and that's what you get. Bread lines, gas lines, and misery. That's what it is, shared misery. The relentless pursuit of truth. It's what we do here every single day. Fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber, and remember, only you can save America.